The air at the county auction yard was thick with dust and hay, a cocktail of sweat, horseflesh, and fried food drifting over from the vendors outside the ring. The bleachers creaked with ranchers shifting in their seats, all sharp eyes and folded arms. My boots scuffed against the sawdust floor as I lingered near the rail, pretending I was just another man here to watch. Truth was, I didn't come just to watch. I had my heart set on a rangy bay gelding with a white snip across his nose, the kind of horse that looked like it could outlast a storm or pull you straight through one. Something about the animal called to me, a restless energy in his stance, head high, like he was daring anyone to underestimate him. "Fine pick," a voice drawled from the other side of the rail. I turned. That's when I saw him, Cade. Tall, broad-shouldered, hat tilted low, shirt clinging just enough to show muscle beneath. His eyes were sharp, but there was something playful there, too, as if he'd seen 100 men stand right where I was, pining after something they couldn't quite afford. "You looking to bid?" he asked, voice warm as whiskey. I cleared my throat, embarrassed at how fast I'd been caught staring at both horse and man. "Thinking about it." Cade smirked. "Thinking's free. But that horse? He won't be." His confidence was infuriating and magnetic all at once. I tried to look back at the gelding to steady myself. Then Cade leaned closer, lowering his voice, casual as if he was offering directions. "Or you could skip the money. Come by my room tonight. Stay a night with me. Then you can walk away with any horse you like." The words hit me like a slap and a spark all at once. I blinked at him, sure I'd misheard. But he wasn't laughing. He wasn't even smirking anymore. He just let it hang there, shameless, testing me. Heat rushed to my cheeks. "You're out of your damn mind?" I muttered, forcing a laugh that didn't sound right. Cade tilted his head, studying me like I was another animal on the block. "Maybe. Or maybe I know a man when he wants something." I pushed away from the rail, trying to steady my breathing. Pride battled with want inside me. I needed that horse, needed him for work, needed him for myself, but not like this. Not with strings attached, not with my dignity thrown on the table like a chip. The auctioneer's voice boomed, numbers rattling off, but I barely heard him. Cade's proposition throbbed in my chest louder than the bidding calls. I walked toward the exit, boots heavy, willing myself not to turn back. That's when the sky cracked open. A storm swept in like it had been waiting for me to walk out. Sheets of rain drumming on the tin roof, wind slicing through the open doors. Folks cursed and grabbed hats, the bleachers emptying fast. The bay gelding threw his head high and pawed the ground, lightning flashing white across his flank. I froze. For just a second, I swore the horse was staring straight at me, eyes locked like he'd already chosen me, not the other way around. "Looks like you're stuck here." Cade's voice again, closer now. He'd followed, damn him. He stood with that same lazy confidence, but softer somehow. His hat pushed back to reveal eyes that weren't mocking this time, just curious. "Don't look at me like that," I snapped, though my voice came out rough, tired more than angry. He lifted his hands, palms open. "Easy. Look, I said what I said to see if you were like the rest. Most men jump at the chance when they think they can take something without paying full price. I wanted to see if you were different." The storm howled, shaking the rafters. I should have kept walking, but the way his tone shifted, calmer, almost regretful, made me pause. "I'm not that kind of man," I said finally. My voice shook, but it felt good to say it. Cade nodded slowly. "Good. Then let me make it right. There's a tack room by the barn. Stove, coffee pot. You don't have to stand in the storm, just till it passes." I hesitated. My pride still flared, my chest tight with the sting of his earlier words. But the rain was relentless, cold sheets already soaking my shoulders, and a strange pull lingered, not just toward the horse, but toward him. I nodded once, just for shelter. The tack room smelled of leather and hay, the small stove glowing as Cade lit it. He poured coffee into mismatched tin cups and slid one across to me. The storm roared outside, rain hammering the tin roof like a drum. For a while, we just sat there, the silence broken only by the wind and the steady drip of water off my hat brim. I caught Cade glancing at me, but there was no boldness now, just something unreadable, like he was seeing me differently. I wanted to speak, to cut through the weight in the room, but then, lightning split the sky with a deafening crack. The lights flickered once, twice, and then died, leaving us in sudden darkness. Cade cursed softly, striking a match. The glow lit his face in sharp lines as he found a stub of a candle, setting it on the table. The flame trembled between us, shadows stretching long against the walls. My chest tightened. The storm raged, the bay gelding outside nickering at the door like he wanted in. And there I was, stuck in the flickering half-light, alone with a cowboy who tested my dignity, and who was starting, against my better judgment, to feel dangerously like a temptation. Candlelight, storm, and Cade's gaze holding mine as if the night had only just begun. The lantern Cade found threw off a warm amber glow, flickering soft shadows on the wooden walls of the tack room. Outside, the storm hadn't let up. If anything, the rain had picked up its rhythm, a wild heartbeat on the roof above us. I wrapped both hands around the tin mug, letting the heat soak through my fingers. Cade sat across from me on an overturned feed bucket, elbows on his knees, eyes fixed on the flame. He hadn't said much since the candle lit, but the weight in the air had shifted, less charged, more cautious, thoughtful. Finally, he looked up. "I shouldn't have said what I did," he said. His voice was lower now, almost hoarse. "It was meant to test the kind of man you were, but it came out wrong. Cheap. I see that now. I didn't respond right away. I didn't need an apology. But hearing it still landed somewhere deep in me." Cade scratched the back of his neck. "Tell you what, I'll make it right. That bay gelding's yours, no strings. But I've got one ask." He paused. "Ride fence line with me tonight. Storm's made a mess of it. Some horses spook, others get loose. You help me check the property, and I'll board your gelding free for a month. No money, no favors. Just sweat for sweat." It was a cowboy kind of offer, rough, simple, and fair. And maybe a little bit like trust, too. I studied him a moment, then nodded. "All right, let's do it." We saddled 2 sturdy paints from the back stables, both soaked but steady. Cade moved like a man born in the saddle, quick hands, sure steps, and I did my best to keep up. As we rode into the dark, the lantern slung from his horn threw ghostly shapes along the mesquite trees, turning them into dancing figures in the wind. The trail was rough, slick with mud and crawling roots. Water gushed in gullies where dry sand usually lay. Cade led the way, but not by much. When the wind shrieked through the low branches, we both ducked in unison. No words needed. It was the kind of ride that didn't allow for small talk, just action. After half an hour, I noticed a sagging length of wire along the north fence. Cade spotted it too. We dismounted together, boots sinking into the muck. "Here," he said, pulling a rusted hammer from his saddlebag. "Hold the post steady." We worked in rhythm, my hands bracing the warped wood, his striking nails true. Rain ran down our necks, plastered shirts to our skin, but we didn't complain. We just worked. When the job was done, we leaned against the fence, catching our breath. Cade let out a small laugh. "You know," he said, "most men run the other way when I ask for help fixing fence in the middle of a thunderstorm." I snorted. "Most men don't need a horse bad enough." Cade looked over at me, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "You ever think maybe the horse needed you too?" Before I could answer, another gust of wind pushed a low branch down across my shoulder. I flinched, stumbled, and caught myself with one hand against a thorny limb. "Shit," I hissed. A clean line of blood welled up across my palm. Cade was at my side in a flash. "Let me see." I resisted instinctively, but he gently tugged my hand closer under the lantern light. His fingers were rough, warm, careful. He pulled a bandana from his pocket, soaked it with water from his canteen, and wiped the dirt and blood away. "You don't have to," I started. "I want to," he said simply. He wrapped the cloth around my palm with surprising gentleness, tying it snug. We didn't speak after that. We just stood there, close enough that I could feel the heat from his skin beneath his soaked shirt. We made it back to the tack room just past midnight, dripping and laughing like fools. My legs ached, and the mud caked halfway up my jeans. Cade's hat had blown off at some point, and his hair clung to his forehead in wet curls. "I've got dry shirts," he said, nodding toward the stove, where a line of old flannel and cotton hung steaming on a rack. "Grab one." I peeled off my wet shirt and reached for a soft, oversized gray one. Cade turned away politely, tugging off his own and slipping into a clean blue flannel. Still, I caught a glimpse, broad shoulders, a long scar along his ribs, and something else. Vulnerability. We stood by the stove, steam rising from our clothes and skin. Our hands brushed as I reached for my mug again. Neither of us moved away. Cade's gaze searched mine, earnest now, steady. No smirk, no testing. "I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything," he said. "If we go anywhere from here, it's because you want to, not because of a horse, not because of a storm." I swallowed hard. My throat was dry, my heart louder than the rain outside. "I want you," I said, quiet but sure. "But not if I'm just a payment to you. I want to be wanted, for me." Cade stepped a little closer, close enough that I could feel the heat from his body, see the flicker of firelight in his eyes. His hand reached up, stopped, hovered near my cheek. "Then let's do this right," he whispered. "No rush, no debt, just us." And then, with the kind of smile that didn't ask, didn't push, just waited, he leaned in. "May I?" he asked. I nodded, and everything went quiet, even the storm, even my thoughts. He leaned in with that slow, certain calm, just a breath from my lips, waiting for permission. And when I gave it, the rest of the night faded to black. I woke to the scent of cinnamon and fresh coffee, the kind of smell that pulled memories from deep places. For a second, I didn't move, just let the quilt tucked around me breathe its warmth into my skin. The tack room stove still crackled low. My shirt, long since dried, was folded neatly on a chair beside the cot where I'd fallen asleep. Outside, the storm had passed. I could hear birdsong edging in around the last drips of rain from the eaves. Morning light slanted through the cracks in the wooden walls, soft and gold like syrup poured slow. Cade wasn't in the room. I sat up and ran a hand through my hair. Everything about the night before felt real and not real. There had been tenderness, yes, but no lines crossed without consent. No bargains fulfilled. What passed between us hadn't been about payment. It had been something else. Something still unfolding. The door creaked open. Cade stepped in, holding 2 mugs. He wore the same flannel from the night before, sleeves rolled, hair still damp but curling at the edges. He handed me a cup. "Didn't know how you take it," he said. I took a sip. "Hot and honest works just fine." His smile curled, quiet and pleased. "Come on. Got something to show you." We walked down toward the lower corral. The mud had crusted at the edges, the air sharp with that afterstorm cleanness. The sun was still low, light diffused across the fields. In the far paddock, the bay gelding stood under a mesquite tree, tossing his head, tail swishing. He looked even more magnificent in daylight, lean and alert, but calm now. When we approached the gate, he turned and walked straight to us like he'd been waiting. I stepped close. The gelding pressed his nose against my chest, exhaling softly, like he remembered me. I reached up and stroked the line between his eyes. "He usually don't do that," Kate said. I looked at him. "He's got a reputation for being hard to handle," he continued. "Had 5 riders in the last 2 months. Nobody could settle him. But I didn't put him up for auction just to get rid of him. I was looking for someone he'd choose back." I raised a brow. "You believe horses do that? Choose us?" Cade shrugged. "Not all of them, but this one, yeah. He don't move for folks he don't trust." I nodded, slowly running a hand down the gelding's neck. "What's his name?" "Haven't named him. Figured the right rider would know." Something stirred in my chest. That same strange pull I'd felt when I saw him the first time, like a door opening inside me. "Can I ride him?" I asked. Cade opened the gate. "He's yours if it feels right." We saddled the gelding in silence. He stood steady under my hands, watching me with those dark, intelligent eyes. No nip, no sidestep, just readiness. I mounted gently, settled in the saddle, and breathed. He shifted once, then stilled, weight-balanced, head easy. We moved around the perimeter of the corral in a slow walk. No push, no fight, just movement. The kind of ride you feel in your bones before you feel it in the reins. I guided him into a trot. He matched my rhythm like he'd been doing it for years. No kickback, no resistance. The wind caught us just right, and I could have sworn I heard Cade whisper, "Look at that." After a few minutes, I brought him back to a stop. My heartbeat was louder than the hooves had ever been. I dismounted and looked over at Cade. "He fits me," I said quietly. Cade nodded. "He chose you first." Back at the barn, Cade leaned against the rail while I brushed the gelding down. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then he pushed off the wood and walked over. "Listen," he said. "Just because you stayed last night doesn't mean I'm changing the deal. 1 month's board, no charge. That was the offer. Still is." I straightened up and met his eyes. "You don't have to keep drawing lines. I know what last night was. I know what this is. I just—" Cade looked down, then back up. "I don't want you thinking you owe me a damn thing." "I don't," I said. "But I want to be here anyway." The corner of his mouth lifted. "That's the best kind of deal I know." We swapped numbers while the horses grazed. His phone was cracked in the corner, mine nearly dead from the storm, but it didn't matter. We typed our names in each other's phones like high schoolers, both pretending not to smile too big. Later, I loaded the gelding into my trailer, heart thudding the whole time. Cade followed me out to the gravel road, hands stuffed in his pockets. "You'll board him at your ranch?" I asked. He nodded. 10 miles down. You'll see the big red barn off Highway 12. I stood by the open truck door, unsure whether to hug him or shake his hand. Cade settled it for me. He stepped in close and rested a hand on my shoulder. "Come back soon," he said. "Not just for him. For me." I swallowed hard. "Yeah," I whispered. "I will." As I pulled away, the gelding shifted in the trailer, nickering once. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Cade stood alone, his flannel caught in the wind, the morning light turning everything gold. I didn't know what was waiting down the road, but for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel lonely. It felt possible. I made it about 2 miles before the text came through. "You forgot your mug. I'm keeping it till you come get it. See." I laughed in the cab of my truck, heart full. But when I pulled into the next town to fill up on gas, that's when I heard it. A man in line ahead of me turned to another and whispered, "That's him. The one who paid in private for that bay horse." The cashier raised her eyebrows. "Heard he spent the night with that auction cowboy," the man muttered. "Didn't pay a dime, but left with the best damn horse on the lot." My chest went cold. It had started. A whisper, a sideways glance, and just like that, what we shared was no longer ours alone. It belonged to every mouth eager to twist it. The next morning, I stopped at the local feed store, just a quick errand to pick up a saddle soap and a salt lick. I kept my head down, mind still half full of Cade and the bay gelding. My boots clacked across the concrete floor, and the familiar scent of molasses cubes and alfalfa dust should have been comforting. It wasn't. 2 men by the register turned when I walked in. I caught the glance, the quick nudge, the sideways grin. "That him?" one said too loudly, like he wasn't trying to be quiet at all. "Ain't that the boy who bought himself a horse the special way?" The other chuckled, spitting into a paper cup. "Guess he paid in bedrolls, not bills." My grip tightened on the metal scoop I was holding. The urge to snap back surged up, cutting words perched on my tongue. But I said nothing, just nodded stiffly to the cashier and paid fast. My chest burned as I stepped out into the sun. The whisper had legs, and it was running. Back at the ranch, I found Cade repairing a gate hinge. He looked up when I pulled in, wiped his hands on a rag, and walked over. He must have seen something in my face. "Where'd you go?" he asked gently. "Feed store." "Ah," he said, like that explained everything. I leaned against the truck bed. They were talking, out loud. No shame. Cade sighed. This town doesn't know how to mind its own business. Talks about everyone eventually. Hell, last month it was Old Man Pryor's daughter and a youth pastor from Amarillo. Next week it'll be someone else. I didn't answer. I knew he was trying to make it feel small, but it didn't feel small. It felt like my dignity was being sized up behind every pair of eyes in town. You want quiet? Kate asked. Stay here for a few days. Train the bay. We've got space. No one here but me, the dogs, and the wind. I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to stay, but because I was afraid of wanting it too much. Finally, I nodded. Yeah, that might be good. We fell into rhythm easily. Days started with the smell of eggs frying, coffee already poured. We moved together like we'd been doing it longer. Mucking stalls, feeding stock, taking turns brushing down the gelding. We still hadn't named him. Somehow, naming him felt like a decision we hadn't earned yet. Cade liked his toast almost burnt. I liked mine dripping with butter and honey. He hummed when he focused, and I chewed pens when I thought. We both hated folding laundry and left it in piles until one of us cracked. Felt honest. One night, after dinner, we stood on the porch watching the sun sink behind the hills. The sky blazed red-orange, clouds catching fire. Cade leaned on the railing, beer in hand, sleeves pushed up. He glanced at me, and his voice came low. I didn't expect you to stay. Didn't expect to want to, I said, and it was the truth. He nodded like he understood. You ever been with someone who only saw what you had, not who you were? I looked over at him. My last partner, he said. He came around when the ranch got profitable. Said all the right things, helped me build things up. Then emptied my account when I trusted him enough to hand him the checkbook. I winced. Damn. Yeah. He sipped slow. Hurt more than the money. Made me think I didn't know how to pick good people. I stepped closer, hand brushing against his. You picked me. That's what scares me, he said, voice raw. Then he leaned in and kissed me. Slow. No urgency. Just the kind of kiss that says we've earned this. The kind that tastes like porch air, hard truth and soft beginnings. It should have stayed perfect. But it didn't. Later that evening, my phone buzzed with a message from an old high school friend. It had a link. A photo from the auction yard. Me standing near Cade by the rail. The bay in the background. Caption. How much is that cowboy in the bunkhouse? Guess he trades saddles for snuggles now. There were laughing emojis. Comments. My stomach twisted. Where'd you get that looker? One read. Bet that gelding was free for a reason, said another. I didn't know the auction came with amenities, someone joked. My hand trembled. I locked the screen and set the phone down, but the bile stayed in my throat. Cade walked in, towel draped over his shoulder from the shower. You okay? I didn't answer right away. He saw my face. What happened? I picked up the phone, showed him the screen. He read it once, jaw tightening, then again. His fingers curled slightly. Then he set the phone on the table with care. I'm sorry, he said. I should have expected that. I should have warned you. No, I said, stepping back. This is my fault. I stayed. I let it happen. What did you let happen? He asked. This? I gestured between us. Chest tight. You're already the town's favorite target. Now they've got a photo, a headline, a whole damn narrative. And I gave it to them. Cade's voice dropped low. So what, now you run? I'm not running, I lied. I'm protecting you. His eyes narrowed. No, you're running. And I won't stop you. I won't trap you. Not even with silence. That last part hit like a nail through the chest. I wanted him to grab my arm, to beg me to stay. But Cade stood still, firm, proud, letting me go if I really meant to. I packed that night. Quiet. Careful. In the dark, I loaded the bay gelding into the trailer. He stepped in slow, like he felt the mood too. I shut the latch, heart hammering. Cade watched from the porch. He didn't move, didn't speak. I looked at him one last time. He just tipped his hat. I left in silence. He let me, and the road out felt longer than the road in had ever been. Days passed, but the ache didn't. Not in my chest. Not in my hands. Not in the way the bay gelding moved beneath me like he was waiting for something I couldn't give him. We circled the small pasture behind my family's place. Over and over. I tried to keep my seat calm, my voice steady, but the horse knew. They always do. He tossed his head, chewed the bit, stepped out of rhythm. "Come on, boy," I whispered. "What's gotten into you?" But I already knew. It wasn't the terrain. It wasn't the tack. It was me. He missed Cade's land, the wide stretch of mesquite and quiet air. He missed the low whistles Cade used when brushing him down at dusk. He missed the rhythm we'd built, rider, horse, land. And maybe I did too. By day 4 I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat without tasting regret in the back of my throat. I kept expecting a call that never came, a message that never lit up my phone. Cade had let me go. No chase, no angry words, just a clean cut through the center of something we hadn't had time to name. Then, late one morning, my phone finally rang. "Cade." I stared at it a long second before answering. "Hey," I said. His voice came calm, measured. "Just realized I forgot to give you the gelding's health papers. Vet clearance. He's due for Coggins next month." I swallowed. "Right. Thanks." Silence hovered like smoke between us. Cade spoke again, softer. "You keeping him stalled up too much? He gets twitchy when he's not worked regular." "I've been riding him," I said. "But it's not the same." "No," Cade said. "It wouldn't be." There was another pause. Then, "You think I'm mad," he said. I didn't answer. "I'm not," he continued. "I was hurt, yeah, but not mad." I sat on the porch steps, phone pressed to my ear like a lifeline. "I've run from things before," I admitted. "Gossip, looks, all of it. You get tired of being the headline for someone else's damn story." Cade sighed, and the sound wrapped around me like a warm wind. "Thing is, those people, the ones with the whispers and the smirks, they don't stay in your bed at night. They don't brush down your horse. They don't build fence with you in the rain. They just watch. And watching's easy." I closed my eyes. "And love. That's the hard part. The good part. And sometimes, the brave part." We stayed on the line a long while after that. Not planning anything. Just existing in the same quiet for the first time since I left. Later that afternoon, I stopped by the co-op to pick up a new set of reins. While waiting in line, I ran into Miss Elna, an old ranch widow who used to sell her peach preserves at every fair between here and Giddings. She was hunched with age but sharp as a tack, wearing a flannel shirt 2 sizes too big and boots that looked older than me. She squinted at me. "You're Cade's fella, ain't ya?" I froze. "We're friends." She smiled like she'd heard that one before. Well, you tell him his mama's peach trees are blooming early this year. He'll know what that means." Then she leaned a little closer. "You know what love is, son?" I didn't answer. "It ain't fire. Not all the time. And it sure as hell ain't something loud. Love is showing up every day. Fixing the same damn latch 3 times because the wind won't quit. Love is quiet. Brave. Like holding your horse's head when he's dying. Or standing in front of someone you care about even when the town wants you gone." I blinked. "That's a lot to lay on a man in the checkout line." She grinned. "Then hurry up and get out of it. You got things to fix." That night, I sat in the barn with the gelding, brushing him slow. He pressed his head into my shoulder and sighed. "I think we both miss him," I said. His ears flicked forward. He didn't move. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was the fact that no one else was watching. But in that moment I decided. I was done letting other people write the story. I didn't want to be brave for them. I wanted to be brave for me. I loaded the bay gelding into the trailer just after sunrise. There was no wind, no lightning this time. Just clean light and a road stretching back to where I'd left something unfinished. In the passenger seat, I placed something I hadn't shown Cade yet. A leather halter I'd carved his name into, finally giving him one. The gelding's name. Rhythm. It had always been there. The way he moved under me. The way Cade's touch calmed him. The way my breath synced with both. I drove west with the bay and a halter bearing his name. ready to knock once more on the door I'd walked away from. This time, I wasn't asking for a horse. I was choosing a life. I didn't rehearse a speech, didn't write out what I'd say. I just loaded Rhythm into the trailer at dawn, packed his tack, and drove west. The road back to Cade's felt different. Less like returning, more like choosing. The sky was clean and blue above the hills, the dust lifting off the tires in soft trails. I kept one hand steady on the wheel, the other drumming a rhythm on my thigh, nerves buzzing under my skin like electricity, waiting for ground. When I pulled into the drive, Cade was out by the south fence, tightening wire with gloved hands and a jaw set like iron. He looked up when he heard the truck, but he didn't wave. He didn't move. I stepped out slow, dust crunching under my boots, opened the trailer. Rhythm let out a deep breath, then stepped down like he knew exactly where he was supposed to be. We didn't speak at first. Cade walked toward me, wiping his hands on his jeans. He stopped a few feet away, eyes flicking from me to the gelding, then back again. "Didn't expect to see you so soon," he said. "Didn't expect to come back," I replied. "But here we are." He nodded once. "You bringing him home?" I looked down at Rhythm, who had already turned toward the barn like he belonged there. "Yeah, and me too, if the offer's still good." Cade breathed in slow, then out. "Depends. On what?" "On whether we're starting this the right way this time." We leaned on the top rail of the fence as the wind moved through the grass around us. Cade didn't rush me, and I didn't dodge what needed saying. "I left because I was scared," I admitted. "Scared of the whispers. Scared of needing you. Scared that I'd already handed over too much before I'd even figured out what I wanted." Cade didn't flinch. "You think I wasn't scared too?" he said quietly. "You think I didn't stand on that porch wondering if I should harden up, shut the door, tell myself I never needed anybody in the first place?" I looked over at him. "Why didn't you?" "Because it would have been a lie." He shifted to face me fully. "So let's say it plain. If we do this, it's not about horses or headlines or heat. It's not about debts. Not about what one of us gives to get the other." I nodded. "It's got to be something we choose. Every damn day," he said. We stood like that for a minute longer, sun warming our arms, the sound of the barn door creaking behind us, Rhythm blowing soft against the wind. "Let's set the terms, then," Cade said. "Terms?" He smiled. "You said you didn't want a bargain, but I think we need one. A real one." "Go on," I said, heart thudding. "No debts, no paybacks. If you want something, you ask for it. If I want something, I do the same. And when things get hard, and they will, we don't walk without talking first." "Agreed," I said. He held out a hand. I took it. It wasn't a kiss. It was better. That night, the porch light was already on when I came back from brushing Rhythm down in the barn. Cade stood in the doorway, holding a pan of cornbread and a pot of beans like we were just two men at the end of a workday. We ate in easy silence, trading looks across the table that said more than words could. After, we washed dishes shoulder to shoulder, bumping elbows once or twice and smiling like teenagers. Later, on the porch, the stars were thick over the pasture. Rhythm grazed near the fence line. Cade sat beside me on the swing, not touching, but close. Comfortable. My hand found his, fingers resting gentle. He didn't grip or squeeze. He just let me be there, like we both finally understood how to hold something without owning it. We stayed out there long past dusk, speaking in slow words and stillness, until the swing creaked soft under us and the quiet pulled us inward. There was no rush, no fire to put out, just two men finding their way, step by step, toward something that looked a lot like home. The next morning, over coffee, Cade glanced up from his feed schedule and said, "You know the town's summer trail show is in 2 weeks." I looked up. "So?" He shrugged. "Green horse class. Rhythm qualifies." I waited. Cade smiled slow. "Thought maybe we enter. As a team. Publicly. No apologies." I grinned. "Let's ride." The arena dust clung to my boots and the cuffs of my jeans. Heat shimmered off the packed earth, and the stands buzzed with small-town chatter. Kids squealing for lemonade, judges flipping score sheets, neighbors nudging each other with gossip and guesses. I sat tall in the saddle, rhythm shifting underneath me, steady as a breath. I could feel his pulse in sync with mine. Not nervous, just aware. Waiting. Cade stood at the arena gate, arms crossed, sunglasses perched low on his nose. He didn't wave, didn't smile, but he gave me a nod, short, firm, and just for me. It was enough. The announcer called our number. I touched my heel gently to Rhythm's side, and we stepped in. We weren't there for ribbons. We weren't there to prove anything. But still, I felt the eyes. Some folks looked curious, others cautious, and a few, well, you can always feel the ones who want you to know you're being judged. But none of that mattered once we started to move. Rhythm and I didn't perform. We communicated. Every step was a sentence. Every turn a thought. He bent to the inside like he was reading my breath. His head dipped at my exhale. His canter held steady through the corner. Even when a kid dropped their snow cone on the bleachers and the crowd flinched. We didn't chase Blue. We just rode like we belonged. When it was over, we halted in the center. Rhythm let out a long sigh, the kind that comes from a horse that's been heard. The crowd clapped, louder than I expected. Not roaring, not wild, but warm, real. Cade met me at the gate with a grin he didn't try to hide. You two looked damn good. I shrugged. We rode clean. You rode honest, he said. That's rarer. We placed fourth. Better than I'd dared hope. They handed me a green rosette, and I pinned it to Rhythm's bridle with fingers that didn't tremble. But the Real win came after. Back at the trailer, after Rhythm had water and shade and Cade had helped me unsaddle, he turned to me, leaning against the fender. You ever think about staying? He asked, quiet. My breath caught. Cade wasn't a man who asked twice. I mean, he went on. Not just for the gelding, or for weekends. I'm talking about something steady. He pulled something from his pocket, a folded sheet of paper. The horse's papers. Ownership transfer form. You keep your name on these, he said, handing it over. Always. But I'd like it if you kept your name on more than just the horse. I stared at him. I want a partner, he said. Not a guest. Not a secret. Someone who'll build this place with me. Day by day. Fence by fence. The sun was dipping low behind the barns, sky turning peach and gold. I looked at Rhythm, then back at Cade, and I said the only word that made sense. Yes. That evening, Cade pulled out a small brass plate he'd ordered days before but never showed me. It was simple, 2 names, side by side, his and mine. We screwed it into the stall door together. Rhythm snorted once, approving. Then we led him down to the pasture, let him off the lead rope and watched him run. Hooves striking Rhythm against the dirt, mane catching the last of the sun. The wind picked up soft, brushing against our sleeves. Cade reached for my hand, and I didn't flinch. Later, as night folded down around the house, the porch light glowed warm against the dark. 2 coffee mugs sat side by side on the rail. Inside, the floorboards creaked in that familiar, welcome way. Out in the field, hooves thudded softly beneath the stars. And in the quiet between the wind and the earth and the slow breath of 2 men who chose each other, I finally understood what home really felt like. What moment in this story hit you the hardest? When he walked away to protect his dignity, or when he turned back to claim his love without shame? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one.